Happy St. Patrick's Day, my friend. Not really an Irish accent, but oh well. I just wanted to jump on here and share. Posted this article on my blog and thought I'd do a video too because everyone needs to see more of me in this app. This is true. I'm just kidding. But it's a topic that comes up quite a bit. As I'm meeting with clients, as I'm diving into understanding their business, as I start talking with prospective clients, one of the questions that inevitably comes up is understanding what is a client worth to you? And it's this concept of the lifetime value of a client. And I remember first hearing this concept from Joe Polish. He's a world-renowned marketer, entrepreneur, networker, and someone I've looked up to for a long time. And I actually got to meet him a couple years ago down in San Diego, which was super cool. You'll see a picture of me and him on my website. He's just been a great mentor for me. And he was talking about how he gets a lot of questions, and I'm sure you guys wondered this too. Is just how much of my budget, how much should I budget for marketing? Is it 10% of revenue? Is it this or that? And he said, you'll never know how much you can invest in marketing until you know what the lifetime value is of a client, until you know how much they're going to spend with you on average. And during the time when I heard that, I was doing my photography business years ago, and I was right at that stage where had started to take steps to grow it from a local audience to serving people here in Utah to a national audience, where I was going out and targeting Washington D.C. market and Virginia and Maryland and Southern California, and really expanding that footprint. And so I was like, oh man, it's really resonated with me. And so I got really excited and started breaking things down. And so here's a photography example just to give you an idea of what I mean by calculating the lifetime value of a client. So in photography, let's say that each wedding client typically spends $3,000 with you. Okay, some are going to spend more, some are going to spend less, but when you average them all out, it comes out to 3,000. Okay, so that's what it is for the wedding client. But then you look at, okay, each client typically either down the road in the next couple of years is either going to invest in maybe an album or enlargement prints or possibly a family photo session. So that comes to the average is $400. So 3,000 plus 400 gets you 3,400 over the lifetime so far. And then I looked at, I've noticed that tons of word of mouth referrals, and people like what they see, right? I mean, look at this. But I noticed that 1 in every 5 clients would typically refer me another wedding. And so I took that, average wedding is 3,000, and then I divided that by 5 because it was every 5th person, right? And so that came to be 600. So total, we're looking at 4,000 average value from bringing in 1 new client will bring me $4,000 in revenue over the course of the next few years, right? And so that's the number that we're looking for. We're looking to really ascertain how much can we afford to invest to still in a client and still come out on top based on the numbers. In this case, I could invest $250 for a new client, $500, $1,000, even $2,000 to bring in a new client because I knew that the lifetime value was 4,000, right? Now, certainly the goal isn't to just see how much you can spend to acquire a client. That's not the goal at all, but it's you're really just it's that mindset of being understanding your numbers first, and then being willing to invest to acquire those based on those numbers. And what's so cool is that most people, they have no idea. They have no idea about this. Your competition, most people they don't know. And I remember photographers, we talk about different advertising that they were doing, different campaigns they'd run, and they'd say things, oh man, I spent $350 and I only got 1 new client, and they'd be freaking out about that. And as a result, they wouldn't invest in marketing much in the future. They just kind of were very passive and said, well, I'm just going to do word of mouth and hope, cross my fingers that people will come in. Whereas I took a different approach and saw that, hey, I don't want to spend $2,000 to acquire a new client, but I'm willing to based on those numbers. And I remember running my first Facebook ads campaign for photography. And I still have these numbers. I just looked at them the other day because they're fun to look at. But I invested $239.04 in that first month into ads. And by the end of the month, it brought in $2,500. So $239.04 to $2,500. And then the next month, I was like, sweet, this is awesome. So I'm just going to scale that up a little bit. And I invested $406.52, and it brought in $7,200. So you see, obviously I wasn't having to spend $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 to bring in a new client, but I was willing to, and it just totally shifted my whole mindset. But if I had left it at, oh man, I don't want to spend $350 for only one new client, that's ridiculous or whatever, and so understanding that gave me such a competitive advantage, whereas a lot of these other photographers just weren't doing that. They were afraid. They didn't know, they couldn't see that long-term vision, right? And so that's my challenge to you, is to look at your business and identify and calculate the lifetime value of each client. And so just as a recap, you'll calculate how much a client is worth to you each year. So that's kind of step one. So let's say that you are like in this, there was a lady that I'm a prospective client that came to me that has a wellness practice. It's kind of a mindfulness practice. She teaches lessons on how to increase awareness and body function and body economy, especially under stressful situations, high pressure situations, things like that. And so in her case, we determined, okay, let's say that they come in, they do 5 lessons per month, and each lesson is, let's say, $100, and so it was $500 a month, and they typically stay for, let's say, 6 months on average. Okay, and so 5 times $500 times 6, $3,000. $3,000 for a new client, right? Pretty awesome. Kind of like my photography company. Just made that connection. Holy cow. But what's cool is that now she can understand that, hey, if I invest $1,000 into this campaign and only get one new client, then I still come out on top, especially because she doesn't have a lot of overhead for this. Doesn't have a ton of employees that she has to pay out, and doesn't have a lot of hard costs associated with each new client. And so her profit's pretty rocking, with that. So it's just a matter of doing the math and understanding that. And then you could take it a step further too, like I did with the photography example, and calculate into that the amount of referrals you receive on a given basis per client, average that out per client. So let's say maybe you have 100 clients, but you only get 30 referrals or 25 referrals each year. And so that's 1 every 4 clients gives you a referral. So you take your lifetime value, the average revenue that each client brings in this case, let's say 3,000, and divide that by 4. And so you're left with 750, right? So 750 added to the 3,000, you're at 3,750. And all of a sudden, it makes things a lot easier to look at campaigns and say, okay, I can invest a couple $1,000 because I know I just need 1 or 2 clients to really make this very profitable for me, especially if you're like her, where it's compounding each month, and it's really, really cool when you dive into it. But just take it easy. Let's keep it simple. I geek out on this stuff a little bit when I get talking about it, but just start with the basics. Calculate how much a client is worth to you each year. The number of transactions, average value per transaction, and then calculate and then multiply that by the number of years that they stay with you, and then factor in the number of referrals and the value of each of those referrals. And it's going to give you a much better idea of what you can afford to invest to generate or acquire a new client. But hopefully this helps, and keep staying lucky. I don't know. What do you say on St. Patrick's Day? But yeah, hopefully it's good. I'll keep trying to do these. If you have any questions, just reach out. Love to share, love to talk, love to collaborate. Any questions, just reach out to me. Website, markthackeray.com. Super original, I know, but that's all I got for now.